Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell y'all something from the heart. Prayer changes things, not just sometimes, not just when it's convenient. It always changes things. But here's the key. You've got to trust in your prayer. Let me tell you something. When you pray, you've got to have patience, not panic. See, a lot of folks out here think that prayer is like a vending machine. You pop in a request, hit the button, and out comes your blessing. But let me help you understand something. God ain't on your timetable. You can't pray today and expect everything to be fixed by tomorrow morning. That's not how it works. What prayer does is plant a seed, and seeds don't grow overnight. Now, I know that's hard to hear when you're in a storm. I've been there. I've been at rock bottom looking up, wondering if my prayers were just bouncing off the ceiling. I've sat in my car, hungry, broke, tired, saying, Lord, I need you to show up. And I meant it with everything in me. But after I said that prayer, nothing changed right away. No voice from heaven, no sudden miracle, just silence. And let me tell you that silence will test you. But that's the thing about prayer. The silence is not rejection. It's not abandonment. It's space for your faith to grow. See, God hears you the first time, but he's waiting to see if you trust him even when he doesn't answer you right away. And that's where patience comes in. Prayer isn't about getting what you want immediately. It's about believing in what you can't see and trusting that the answer is already on the way. Even if it's taking the long route. You ever cook something slow, like real slow, that kind of meal where you marinate it, let it sit, then cook it low and slow for hours? That's how God answers prayers sometimes. Because the best blessings, the ones that change your life, they take time. You don't rush a masterpiece. So when you pray, don't panic because nothing is happening right away. Be still. Stay faithful. God is working on it, even if you can't see the blueprint. Now, I know we live in a world that's all about speed. We want fast food, fast money, fast results. But prayer doesn't move at the speed of the world. It moves at the speed of purpose. And when you start praying with purpose instead of panic, everything changes. You stop running around trying to fix everything yourself. You stop doubting every delay. You stop comparing your path to somebody else's. Because you understand that what's yours is already lined up, and it's just waiting for you to be ready. Some of y'all are praying for things right now that you ain't even prepared to receive yet. And that's okay, because God will never give you something you can't handle. That's why the waiting matters. That's why patience matters. That's why when you pray, you don't chase the answer, you grow into it. You let the time between the prayer and the blessing mold you, shape you, develop you. And when it finally comes, you're not just ready to receive it, you're ready to keep it. So many people panic in the middle of the process and give up too early. They pray for something big and then walk away from it when it doesn't show up in a week. But hear me, some things take time because they're too important to rush. A real prayer, the kind that moves heaven, requires real trust. And trust always comes with waiting, not worrying, not doubting, waiting. And while you're waiting, don't get bitter. Don't let envy creep in. Don't start thinking God forgot about you. No, he's working on something special for you. You don't need to understand the how or the when. You just need to stay planted. Keep showing up. Keep thanking him like it's already done. Because it is. You just haven't seen it yet. When you trust your prayer, you stop needing constant reassurance. You don't need signs and confirmations every 5 minutes. Your soul gets quiet. Not because you've given up, but because you've given it over. That's what patience looks like in prayer. It's not passive. It's powerful. It's that quiet confidence that says God's got it. So I don't have to panic. So whatever you're asking God for, whatever you've laid on the altar in prayer, hold on, trust it. Don't lose your faith in the silence. Don't panic in the waiting. Be patient, because the blessing you're hoping for might be just one sunrise away. Let me tell you something, you can't pray and be scared at the same time. Faith and fear don't live in the same house. One's going to kick the other one out. So when you get down on your knees and ask God for something, you better stand back up like you believe he's already working on it. Because the truth is, if you're walking around full of fear after you prayed, you didn't trust the prayer in the first place. Look, I know what it feels like to be afraid. I know what it's like to not know how the rent's going to get paid. I know what it's like to not know where the next opportunity is coming from, or if the dream you've been chasing is ever going to show up. But here's what I've learned. Faith don't need all the answers. It just needs your trust. And trust means you stop feeding your fear and start feeding your belief. Fear will talk to you. Oh, it'll whisper all kinds of lies in your ear. It'll say you're not good enough. You're not qualified. You're too late. You messed up too bad. And if you're not careful, you'll start agreeing with it. You'll stop moving. You'll stop dreaming. You'll stop believing. But when you've really trusted your prayer, you stop giving fear the mic. You stop letting it narrate your life. You ever notice how fear always shows up right after you pray? That's because the enemy knows the power of your prayer. See, fear is just a test. It's trying to see if you really believe what you just asked for. It wants to see if you're serious about walking by faith and not by sight. That's why when fear shows up, you've got to talk back to it. You've got to remind yourself what you prayed for and who you prayed to. You've got to say, no, I ain't backing down. I've already put this in God's hands. Let me give you something. Faith is a muscle. You've got to work it. And how do you work it? By trusting when it's hard. By showing up even when you're scared. By choosing to speak life over your situation when everything around you looks dead. Faith says, I don't see it yet, but I believe it's coming. Faith says, I feel nervous, but I'm still moving forward. Faith says, God's track record with me is too good for me to doubt him now. When you pray and you start feeling that fear creep in, don't panic. Don't fall apart. Just remember, fear is not a sign that something's wrong. It's often a sign that something powerful is about to happen. The enemy don't fight folks who ain't dangerous. So if you're under attack right now, it means you're getting close. That's why you've got to shut fear down. Speak over it. Worship through it. Keep walking, even with the butterflies in your stomach. And don't think faith means you'll never feel fear. That's not it. Real faith is moving even when fear is trying to paralyze you. It's not about not feeling scared. It's about not being controlled by it. Saying, yeah, I'm nervous, but God didn't bring me this far to leave me now. That's what trust looks like. That's what power feels like. Let me tell you something else. Sometimes fear comes dressed up real nice. It'll come as logic, as just being realistic, as protecting yourself from disappointment. But deep down, you know when it's not wisdom, it's worry. You know when it's not caution, it's disbelief. That's when you've got to check yourself, because what you tolerate will dominate. And if you keep making space for fear, it'll take up the whole room where your faith was supposed to grow. See, when I started really trusting in my prayers, I started living bolder. I started dreaming bigger. I started saying yes to things that scared me, because I knew I wasn't walking into those things alone. And you've got to do the same. Don't let fear keep you from stepping into the very thing you prayed for. Some of y'all are asking God to open doors, but then running from him when they swing wide because you're scared of what's on the other side. Let me tell you something. God will never give you a blessing that requires you to stay small. So when it shows up, don't let fear talk you out of it. There are people counting on you to walk in faith. Your family, your kids, your community. Somebody's breakthrough is tied to you not giving up. So when fear comes knocking, don't answer. Or better yet, answer with your faith. Let it know you heard the lies, but you're not buying into it. Let it know your prayer wasn't just words. It was a declaration, a decision, a done deal. And when fear tries to convince you that you're not ready, remind yourself that God doesn't call the qualified. He qualifies the called. He'll equip you as you go. He'll teach you along the way, but he needs you to take that first step, and then the next one, and then the next. That's how miracles unfold. Not all at once, but step by step, day by day, with faith stronger than fear. Every time. So the next time fear tries to creep in after you pray, don't freeze. Just remember who you are, and more importantly, who you belong to. You've already given it to God. Don't take it back just because fear showed up. You don't need all the answers. You don't need a perfect plan. You just need enough faith to trust that the one who hears your prayer is already making a way. So when fear tries to shake your confidence, remind it that you've already decided to trust in your prayer. You know, a lot of people out here are praying, but they're not believing. And let me just go ahead and say this plain. There's no power in a prayer. You don't believe it. What's the point of asking for something you don't expect to receive? If you're going to pray, then believe like it's already done. That's how this thing works. You got to line your expectation up with your requests. See, when I pray, I don't pray hoping. It ain't no gamble. I'm not rolling dice. I'm praying with certainty because I know who I'm talking to. I know who's listening. And I know what he can do. That's the kind of confidence you've got to have when you open your mouth in prayer. Don't come to God like you're not sure. Don't approach him like he's limited. Don't treat your prayer like it's a suggestion. You got to pray with authority because you're talking to the one who holds all things together. And I know sometimes we pray and deep down we're already bracing for disappointment. We say things like, Lord, if you can, or if it's not too much to ask. And we already halfway talking ourselves out of it before the amen comes out. But that's not trust. That's not faith. That's fear dressed up as humility. You got to stop praying scared. Stop watering down your prayers to match your fear. Pray bold, ask big, believe bigger, because the size of your belief shows the size of your God. And when you really believe in your prayer, your language changes, your posture changes, your walk changes. You stop saying, I hope it works out, and you start saying, I know it's working out. You stop saying, I wish things would get better, and start declaring, things are already turning around. That's belief. That's trust. You ever notice how some people pray and then immediately start talking about plan B? They'll say, I gave it to God, but 10 minutes later, they're already back in control, trying to figure out how to fix it themselves. That's not belief. That's backup. That's not faith. That's fear of being let down. But when you truly believe in your prayer, you don't need a backup plan. You believe that God is the plan, period. Now, I'm not saying don't be responsible. I'm not saying just sit around waiting for miracles without doing your part. But I am saying stop canceling your own prayers with your doubt. Because every time you say, well, maybe it won't happen, you're pulling up the seed you just planted. Every time you speak against what you prayed for, you're throwing dirt on your own harvest. Belief has to match your words. If you ask God for peace, stop entertaining chaos. If you ask him for direction, stop panicking about where to go. If you ask him to open a door, stop staring at the one that closed like it's the only one that existed. Believe your prayer. Live like it's already been heard. Walk like it's already been answered. That kind of belief changes how you show up in life. It gives you peace even in the waiting. You might not have the answer yet, but you got assurance. And let me tell you, assurance is a powerful thing. When you believe your prayer is in motion, you don't get shaken every time something goes wrong. You're not thrown off by delays. You don't crumble when something doesn't go your way, because you know that all things are still working together, just like you prayed for. And don't let anybody talk you out of your belief. People will look at your situation and try to tell you what's realistic. They'll try to bring you back down to earth when you've already lifted your prayer to heaven. Don't let realistic ruin what God is trying to do in your life. If he only moved in realistic ways, we'd all be stuck. But he specializes in doing the impossible. He specializes in taking the not none and turning it into more than enough. And if you believe that, then act like it. Sometimes you've got to walk into a room like the thing you asked for is already yours. You've got to carry yourself with the energy of answered prayer. People might call it confidence, but it's really belief. It's trust. It's the result of knowing that when you prayed, God heard you. And if he heard you, then it's already settled. Even if you don't have the full picture, you got enough faith to keep moving forward. And belief doesn't mean you won't have hard days. It doesn't mean you won't get discouraged or confused, but it means you don't stay there. It means when the doubt creeps in, you remind yourself what you prayed for. You remind yourself who your source is, and you keep speaking over your life like the answer is already on the way, because it is. Sometimes the only thing standing between you and your blessing is your belief. You've already prayed for it, but you haven't stepped into it. You're still waiting for everything to make sense before you move, before you trust, before you believe. But here's the thing, belief comes before the breakthrough. You don't get to wait until you see it to believe it. You've got to believe it, then you'll see it. So whatever it is you've been asking for, whatever you've cried about, fasted about, journaled about, stop holding your breath. If you prayed for it, then believe it. Walk like it, talk like it, live like it, because belief is the bridge between your request and your reward. And if you truly trust in your prayer, then you gotta trust in the one who heard it. Let me tell you something that a lot of people miss when they're going through something. Your struggle is part of your story, but more than that, it's part of your testimony. See, everybody wants the breakthrough, but don't nobody want to go through the breakdown. Everybody wants the success, but they don't want the storm that comes before it. But the truth is, the thing you're praying to get out of might be the exact thing God is using to build you up. Now, I know when you're in it, when you're dealing with pain, loss, rejection, confusion, it don't feel like a setup for anything good. It feels like punishment. It feels like God forgot about you. But hear me when I say this. God don't waste anything, not your tears, not your time, not your trials. If you're going through something, there's purpose in it, even if you can't see it yet. And the only way you get to see the full picture is to keep moving, keep trusting, and keep praying through it. See, I know folks who pray like this, Lord, take the pain away, or God, please don't let me suffer. And I get it, we don't want to hurt, we want comfort, But sometimes that struggle you're trying to pray away is actually the very thing that's preparing you for what's next. It's shaping your character. It's increasing your patience. It's deepening your faith. If everything came easy, you wouldn't need God. If every door opened automatically, you wouldn't learn how to trust Him when one closes. You ever been in a place where everything you counted on fell apart, where you looked around and said, this ain't how I thought my life would turn out? That's when your prayer life gets real. That's when you stop rehearsing pretty words and start crying out from your soul. And let me tell you, those are the prayers that move mountains. The ones that come from desperation, from brokenness, from that place where you know only God can fix. But here's the thing about those moments. They change you. They stretch you. They make you stronger than you thought you could be. When you make it through a dark valley with nothing but prayer and perseverance, you come out with a testimony that no one can take from you. People can argue theology. They can debate opinions, but they cannot deny your story. They can't take away what you lived through. They can't explain how you survived except to say God must have done that. And when you've trusted your prayer through that kind of struggle, when you kept showing up even though you were broken, something happens on the inside. Your faith stops being something you just talk about. It becomes something you live. You start walking different. You speak different. You stop letting little things shake you because you've already survived big things. You've already seen God make a way when there was no way. You've already watched Him flip the script when everybody else counted you out. That's what I mean when I say your struggle is part of your testimony. Because after you come out of it, and you will come out of it, you're going to be able to help somebody else. That pain you went through won't be wasted. That heartbreak, that loss, that failure, it's going to become the thing God uses to encourage somebody who's in the middle of their own storm. You'll be able to look at him and say, I know it's rough, but I made it through, and you can too. And let me tell you something else. You don't have to wait until everything's perfect to start testifying. You don't have to wait until you have the victory in hand to speak life. Sometimes your testimony is just saying, I'm still here. Sometimes it's just saying, I cried last night, but I didn't quit. Sometimes it's as simple as saying, I don't know how God's going to do it, but I trust that He will. That kind of faith in the middle of the storm, that's powerful. That's the stuff that moves heaven. That's the stuff that shakes the enemy. Because when you're going through something and you still trust your prayer, you are telling the world, my God is bigger than my struggle. You're saying, this pain is real, but so is my promise. And let me tell you, when you keep showing up like that, the blessing has no choice but to come. The breakthrough has no option but to manifest. Because what God is doing in your struggle isn't just about the destination. It's about the transformation. He's making you into the person who can handle what you've been praying for. He's pruning you, refining you, elevating you. And yeah, it hurts. Growth always does. But the pain has purpose. And if you can just hold on, if you can keep trusting your prayer through the tears, through the silence, through the disappointment, you're going to come out of it with more than you ever imagined. So don't curse the struggle. Don't run from it. Don't think that God has abandoned you because it's hard right now. He's right there in it with you. He's collecting every tear, hearing every prayer, and preparing something for you that's greater than what you lost. You might not understand the why right now. You might be asking, why this? Why now? But one day that why is going to turn into a wow. One day you're going to look back and say, if I hadn't gone through that, I wouldn't be who I am today. That's the power of a struggle covered in prayer. It doesn't break you, it builds you. And when the dust settles, when the smoke clears, you're going to have a testimony that makes people believe again. You're going to stand tall, not because life was easy, but because prayer carried you through it. You're going to smile, not because everything went your way, but because you trusted even when it didn't. And when you open your mouth to tell your story, people will listen, not because you're perfect, but because you're real. Because your struggle wasn't the end, it was the beginning of something greater. So trust in your prayer, even when it hurts, even when it's silent, even when it feels like you're walking through fire, because what's on the other side of that fire is your testimony. Sometimes the hardest part about prayer isn't saying the words, it's waiting after you've said them. It's doing everything you know how to do, turning it over to God, and then silence. No sign, no answer, no shift. That waiting period can feel like a lifetime. It can mess with your head, make you question your faith, even make you wonder if God heard you at all. But let me tell you something I had to learn the hard way. God's delay is not God's denial. Just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it's not on the way. We live in a world that's all about instant results. Everything is fast, fast food, fast money, fast fame. But prayer don't work like that. God don't move on your clock. He's not bound by your calendar or your deadline. He moves when the time is right. And the thing about the right time is it almost never matches your time. That's why trust is so important. That's why believing in your prayer means being willing to wait for it with peace, not panic. You ever notice how impatient we get the minute we don't see progress? We start looking around, comparing our journey to everybody else's. They got theirs. Why haven't I? They didn't even pray like I did. But look at them. That comparison game will rob you of your peace and choke your faith. What God is doing in your life is not on anybody else's schedule. Your blessing is customized. Your journey is unique. So don't waste your time watching somebody else's harvest while your seed is still underground. See, what you don't realize is that the waiting season is where the real preparation happens. That's where God is working behind the scenes, setting things in order, opening the right doors, closing the wrong ones, growing you into the person who can carry what you asked for. You want the blessing, but you don't want the process. You want the promotion, but you don't want the preparation. But listen, if God gave it to you too early, you wouldn't be able to handle it. You ever get something before you were ready and mess it up? That relationship, that opportunity, that job? You thought you were ready, but you weren't. That's why God doesn't always answer right away. Sometimes he says not yet, because he's protecting the very thing you're praying for. Sometimes the delay is divine. It's him loving you enough to say, let me finish building you first. And don't get it twisted. Waiting doesn't mean doing nothing. Waiting doesn't mean sitting around, twiddling your thumbs, hoping things magically change. No, while you wait, you work. While you wait, you grow. While you wait, you get your heart right. You heal, you prepare, you keep doing your part while trusting that God is doing his. Waiting is active. It takes strength. It takes maturity. It takes the kind of faith that says, even though I don't see it yet, I still believe. And let's be real, it's easy to praise when the blessing comes quick. It's easy to trust when things are falling into place fast. But the real test of your faith is when the clock is ticking and nothing seems to be changing. Can you still show up? Can you still pray? Can you still speak life over your situation when all you've got is silence? That's when your faith gets stretched. That's when you grow. And hear me, you might feel forgotten, but you're not. You might feel overlooked, but you're not. God ain't ghosted you. He's not ignoring your prayer. He's working while you wait. He's building something lasting, something strong, something worth the wait. And when it finally comes, it's not just going to be what you asked for. It's going to be more, because he doesn't just meet expectations. He exceeds them. But here's the key. You can't give up in the waiting. You can't let time talk you out of your faith, because time will try to whisper lies like it's too late, or if it was going to happen, it would have happened by now. But God don't run on your clock. He's not late. He's strategic. Every second of silence has a purpose. Every delay is part of the design. And if you can just hold on just a little while longer, you'll see it. So don't stop praying. Don't stop believing. Don't stop expecting just because you haven't seen results yet. Some of the best things in life take time. Diamonds don't form overnight. Trees don't grow in a day. And the kind of purpose God has for your life, it takes time to unfold. But when it does, it'll be worth every tear, every sacrifice, every lonely night, every not yet you had to endure. You've got to stop looking at time as your enemy and start seeing it as part of the promise. Sometimes God uses time to filter out distractions. Sometimes he uses it to strengthen you, to humble you, to teach you how to depend on him and not the outcome. Because when you learn how to trust him in the waiting, you become unshakable. You stop letting the lack of evidence destroy your hope. You stop letting unanswered prayers silence your praise. You become the kind of person who says, I may not have it yet, but I know it's coming. And when it finally shows up, when the door opens, when the breakthrough hits, when the answer comes, it'll all make sense. You'll look back and realize that every moment of waiting was part of the process, that the silence wasn't rejection, it was redirection, that the delay wasn't a punishment, it was a setup. And in that moment, you'll thank God, not just for the blessing, but for the weight that shaped you for it. So keep holding on, keep praying, keep trusting. It may not come when you want it, but it will come when you need it. Let me tell you something that might sound simple, but it's powerful if you grab hold of it. Your words have power. The way you speak, especially after you've prayed, can either build your faith or tear it down. See, it ain't just about saying the prayer, it's about what comes out of your mouth afterward. You can pray all day long, but if you leave that prayer and start talking like nothing's gonna change, like God's not gonna show up, then you've already undone your own faith. What you say after amen matters just as much as what you said during the prayer. And I'm not just talking about in church or in front of people. I'm talking about when you're by yourself, when life hits you, when things look the total opposite of what you asked for. That's where the test comes in. That's where you gotta line your mouth up with your faith. Because if you really believe your prayer, then your words should reflect it. Too many people pray and then walk away still speaking defeat. I hope this works, but knowing my luck, or I prayed but things never go right for me. That's doubt dressed up as casual conversation. That's speaking against the very thing you claim to believe in. Let me tell you, if you keep speaking what you see instead of what you believe, you'll stay stuck where you are. Your mouth is like a steering wheel. It's going to take your life in the direction you're pointing. And if your words are always pointing to fear, to worry, to failure, then that's where you're headed. Now, I'm not saying you got to walk around pretending everything's perfect when it ain't. I'm not saying lie to yourself. What I am saying is speak from faith, not from fear. That means you can acknowledge what's real, but you choose to declare what's possible. You say, yeah, things are tight right now, but I trust God's provision. Or yes, I'm still waiting, but I know the answer's on the way. That's the kind of talk that lines up with your prayer. That's the kind of faith that moves mountains. You got to start seeing your words like seeds. Every time you speak, you're planting something. If you plant doubt, you're going to grow discouragement. But if you plant faith, you're going to grow strength. You're going to grow hope. You're going to start seeing things shift in your life, not because your situation changed overnight, but because you changed, because your perspective changed. And when your perspective changes, your possibilities do too. Sometimes God is just waiting on us to start speaking like we trust Him. He's already lined up the blessing, already planned the breakthrough, but He's watching to see if your mouth matches your faith. Can you still say God is good when you're in the middle of a storm? Can you still speak life when everything around you looks dead? That's when your words carry the most weight. Anybody can speak faith when life is easy, but it's when you're tested, when the pressure's on, that your words either become weapons or weaknesses. And listen, the enemy hears your words too. He's not just attacking your situation, he's attacking your mouth, because he knows if he can get you to start speaking fear, he can get you to start living in it. If he can get you to talk yourself out of your miracle, he don't even have to fight you, because you're doing it for him. So you gotta guard your mouth like it's a gate. Don't let just anything come out. Speak like you expect God to show up. Speak like you know your prayer has already been heard. You ever been around somebody who just lifts your spirit every time they talk? Somebody who speaks faith even when things are falling apart. That kind of energy is contagious, and that's the kind of person you should be, not just for others, but for yourself. Speak encouragement to your own soul. Talk to yourself like you believe in your own prayer. Sometimes you're not going to have a cheerleader. Sometimes it's just you, God, and the struggle. But if your mouth stays aligned with your faith, you can still win. There's something powerful about declaring things that haven't happened yet. That's not delusion. That's you saying, I trust God's timing. I trust His word. I trust that what I've prayed is already in motion, even if I can't see it. That's you getting ahead of your breakthrough and praising in advance. That's you refusing to let your reality cancel your belief. And when you talk like that, you attract favor. You invite miracles. You show God that you're ready for what you asked for. And let me tell you, this ain't easy. It takes discipline. It takes intentionality. You're gonna mess up sometime. You're gonna catch yourself speaking negativity, speaking doubt. But the key is to catch it, correct it, and keep going. Don't beat yourself up. Just shift. Say, no, I'm not speaking that over my life. And then replace it with the truth. Replace it with the word of faith. Because every time you do that, you're strengthening the bridge between your prayer and your promise. At the end of the day, it comes down to this. If you prayed for it, then act like it's already handled. Speak like it's already done. Walk like it's already yours. Your faith isn't just in your prayer, it's in your posture, your mindset, your language. That's what shows God you trust Him. That's what turns a prayer into a manifestation. And that's how you start living a life that reflects the power of what you believe.